The recording has started. Mr. Hamp, introduce the guest and do your thing, brother.
All right.
He's back. Okay.
What
Yeah, I'm saying.
the
Because I was finna hang up and come back in as the host.
No, man, I got it. You don't know the host code, man.
You right, I don't.
Okay, I will give it to you. I will give it to you in secret, so in case I don't get in, that way we can do that.
All right. Well, tonight I'm sure this person has put a lot of thought into this topic. I have no idea what it is just yet.
Right.
But from what I've heard, they've been thinking about it for over 24 hours.
Mm.
That's right. So this ought to be really good.
Go for it.
So, Sister Jackie, without any further ado, the flow and the show is yours.
All right. Well, thank you kindly, Chairman Smith.
What's her name? Who are you? Who are you again? Bring the topic. Ayana?
Well, yes.
He called you something, but I ain't gonna worry about that. Go ahead, do your thing, sweetheart.
Well, we're known for some edgy shows. We're known for some funny shows, some informational shows.
Yeah.
Well, tonight I decided to go a little bit more informational because of something that was on my heart. I just want to share this with you right quick. Last week I went for residency for the doctorate program that I'm in, and I was introduced to several people, and their stories weighed heavily on me because these were older Americans who are doing things that they should have been doing in their 30s and their 40s, maybe even their 50s, but they were like 70 and 80 years old doing these things. So the topic tonight is the graying of America. Where have all the old men gone? It's interesting to know that more Americans are working into their 60s and 70s and 80s because we have longer lifespans. Some are offered financial incentives to keep working. Some keep working because they want to and because they need to make ends meet. Well, the trend was reversed briefly during the COVID-19 pandemic, but that wave of early retirees has largely gone back to work, partly because there are people who are still fearful of COVID and they don't want to work, so companies have to find, laborers or workers where they can. So as a result, the workforce itself is now older than ever. Just a little bit, one brief tip that I want to mention is AARP's surveys show money is the biggest reason older Americans are still working, whether it's needing money now to meet expenses or wanting to save up for a bigger nest egg before retiring. So some questions that I thought about in relation to this that you all can answer as we discuss this topic is maybe there are some other reasons why they haven't retired, if you can think of any. In looking at your own situation, is retirement anywhere in your near future? And I know that we're going to get around to discussing grandparents raising grandkids. We have family that's taking care of family. So anyway, with that being said, I'd like to know your thoughts. If this is something that is weighing on you as well, something you've noticed, something you think that's important, let us know that as well, because we can't address a situation or change a situation if we don't look at it from all angles and begin to understand why it's happening. So what are your thoughts on this? Do I need to call anybody out?
If I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I love the topic because I love seniors. And they're so spunky, right? My show a couple of weeks ago was talking to the 70-year-olds and above because I felt we needed some tips on how to get to 70 and above. But the older people coming into the workforce or staying in the workforce is really good because it can become a learning experience for the younger folks, teaching them work ethics. And hopefully the older people are working because they want to. Not hopefully financially because they need to. But I'm leaning toward, I said I was going to semi-retire next year, but I don't know what to give up because I like it all. So I have to revisit that. But finances will change, and so I don't know. I feel like that's what I want to do. But I feel that people should work until they're no longer wanting to, which is one step, right? The wanting to. And in terms of the needing, I hope they don't need it. But again, as a tax preparer, I also see that a lot of people work independently. They work independently, and they don't put into their Social Security by filing their self-employment taxes. So some people need to keep working because they don't even have a good Social Security retirement check. So I try to encourage young people who are working independently to do two things. One, set up your own retirement fund, and the other is to make sure you're filing your taxes and paying into your Social Security appropriately. Don't expense yourself down. But I love older people, and I love to see them out there, and they're so knowledgeable. So it must be hopefully a grand experience with the intergenerational workforce. I have tax clients though who have retired, and their income is close to $100,000 because of the way they purchased. So these are our lessons as younger people, the way that they purchase their separate annuities and other retirement products, IRAs and things like that. So along with their Social Security and their pension, then they're also withdrawing on those retirement products as well. But I think it's kind of pretty cool. It's unfortunate that the workforce, of course, has lost a lot of the younger people, and I'll stop here, because of the pandemic and people leaving the country as well, finding other places to live due to the pandemic. So I'm happy for them. But, it's always a shift. I think we always have to stay in shift mode. We always have to stay in shift mode, but also in preparation. Thank you. Great topic.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. You hit the nail on the head in several aspects. Just to share, one of the ladies that I met, she was 80 years old, and she was taking care of her uncle. She had a friend in another state that was ill, and she was getting ready to fly out because her oldest son had a massive stroke. And, I could just see all of this weighing on her, but these were things that she needed to keep doing. And, and in regard to all of that, she still make reference to what she did, as a nurse. So I think she missed that. But at least, working with her family gave her some satisfaction, in that regard. But it's hard for a lot of people out there. Anyone else? Okay. Well, in regard to family taking care of family, if older Americans aren't able to afford to find care, their needs are going to fall on their relatives. And it's interesting to note that about 1 in 5 U.S. adults already provide ongoing support to close friends or family members. And I've seen that a good portion of my own life, with my dad taking care of his stepmom, and, he was already a senior citizen, but it had to be done because there was nobody else to do it.
That's interesting, if I may. It's a bit expensive, but I highly recommend long-term care insurance because it then allows a little bit of flexibility, a lot of flexibility when there is physical need of care to be given to older person or someone just disabled. The long-term care plans are very, very, very valuable. Priceless, as MasterCard used to say. Priceless.
That's true. Yeah. Anyone else? Well, let's jump to one of the questions that I asked in the beginning about grandparents raising grandkids. It's not the exact same scenario, but it is in terms of people of a certain age who are doing the things that they should have been doing in their 30s and their 40s and maybe even their 50s that they're now doing in their 70s and their 80s. So do we have any grandparents on the line who are raising their grandkids? Okay, I guess that's a good thing.
If I may again.
Uh-huh.
So the good and bad. The good is if the grandparent is fit. It's a good thing. They say children keep you going. Children keep you alive. Have many. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it helps to keep you actively engaged. Sometimes it's needed. And if the grandparent can adopt the child and the grandparent is receiving Social Security, then that child can get a Social Security check as well because it would be the grandparent's dependent at that point. So if it's going to be that long-term, continued process, it will help bring finances into the home. So we just hope the grandparents are fit. But we do know there are those cases where the grandparent is like, this is not what I was thinking I would be doing at this time. But they step in anyway. And then it comes to a community. We say a village to raise a child. So one of the things this conversation could really bring out is helping people to understand who would be a good fit. Maybe it's not the grandparent. It could even be a friend, a family friend, who would be better suited to raise the child if the parents are unavailable, still with the grandparents being involved, but in terms of the physical activities that might be needed that the grandparent can't provide, you need the village sometimes. Thank you.
I agree with you about the village, but one thing that I've noticed is, unfortunately, in today's age, the village seems to be falling away. You have plenty of kids who are then shuttled off to foster care because there is nobody else. But that's another topic for another night. Anyone else?
Hi, this is Angela. It does take a village still, now more than ever, honestly, so I definitely agree with you about that. And like Ayani said, the villages are dwindling. I'm actually here with her tonight as part of her village, handling some things and doing some things to help out my friend. But a lot of people don't do that because most of their time they're busy doing their own thing. So they don't have time to really be the village that others need because everybody is so inundated with work, with school, with children, with a couple of jobs just to make ends meet because of the economy the way it is right now. So, when you can get your village, you need to kind of hold on to your villages as tightly as you can and respect each other in that aspect. And sometimes take turns. The village is not just one-sided all the time when there's opportunity to do so. But as far as being of a certain age in not being able to retire or not retiring. I know for a fact my father was in the educational system for 30-plus years, and he ended his educational career as assistant superintendent of our parish or county, as you would say. And he went back for at least another 5 years as a substitute principal whenever a school needed one. And I would argue with him daily about, why are you going? Why are you putting yourself through this? He had kidney failure and was on dialysis, and he would literally go to dialysis in the morning, change into his suit at dialysis, and go to work at the schools in the afternoon. And it was always the same reason, because I can. It's the children. And so it got to the point that I understood that he was going to do it regardless of what we said, and it's because of that nature. And it was not just him. It was all of his friends that had been principals. Even his wife, she was substitute teaching, and she retired as a teacher. So it's like, it may not always be that they have to go back to work. Sometimes it's that they want to go back to work, or they need to go back to work for their own self, just to keep occupied and to stay busy. Because that generation, they're used to working all the time. So when you stop working, then what do you do? What do you do with all that extra time? And so that's why a lot of them take on little part-time jobs or do something to help out with other family businesses or what have you, just to make sure that they have some time, that they can, still have that need to be needed, I think is basically what it is. So that's all I got right now.
Well,
if I may.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I've had turns. Go right ahead.
Oh, no, by all means, ladies first.
Thank you. So it's so funny. I had a customer 2 weeks ago. She's retired twice from Stony Brook. She's retired, like, big parties twice. And she said at the last one, they were making announcements, honoring her. And they said, we're asking you if you would come back. We'll make you vice president. They made her vice president of 6 departments, and they gave her a $65,000 raise. She said her son said she'll take it. Straight from the audience. She'll take it.
I know he
and
did.
She's there. She's still there for the love of what it is that she does. She's created so many different programs. So as you say, Angela, it's people's passion as well. Their passion, and they see the need. So those two things, it's not always the money. It's the desire, and the desire to be busy, the desire to, because you're used to that. Your body's on the clock. But go ahead. I'm finished. Thank you.
What I was about to say was, I understand that the question was, one of the questions Angela posed was, what do you do? Well, when you retire, in my case, I retired twice, from law enforcement and from the railroad. My biggest thing was being active that long, figuring out, what do you want to do now? Because I realize a lot of people, and I've heard the statement as recently as today, a lot of people choose to stay working in the various fields for as long as they can, because they feel like if they go home and they retire and don't just sit around the house, they'll die. And to me, with my situation, retirement was more just figuring out the next move. Not that it just means I'm not clocking in anymore. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that I stopped doing. I stopped going, because I do more now than I did when I was working. So, a lot of what people look at retirement is, I guess for me, I enjoy it simply because it allows me to do what I want to do now. I'm not on a time clock. I take lunch when I want, get up when I feel like it, and go to bed when I get sleepy. So, for me, retiring at the age that I did, I'm okay. But to me, also, retirement is also figuring out what do you do next. I was not going back to work at the railroad, nor was I going back to get in law enforcement. So the things that I had to figure out was what am I going to do? Once I figured that out, I'm good to go. My biggest thing now is volunteering. In fact, that's 9.9% of what I do is volunteer my time for various organizations as well as this one. And that's my reward, I guess one would say, because I see the need in several communities. There was mentioned about building villages. I'm about building villages and bridging communities, which is one of the things that we work hard at. And I just don't think that would be possible if I was still working a regular job. So, for me, retirement was a dream come true.
That's true.
Yeah.
There used to be, as I was sitting around as a little girl, listening to the older people, they were glad to be retired, et cetera, or they were looking forward to retirement. But, the world and society has changed so much that you have to stay vibrant, and you are correct about some older people not wanting to slow down because they have that fear that they may die. I also remember as a child, an older man, he was right at 100 years old. He'd walk 5 or 6 miles every day to work, and walk back home. And something happened. He broke a hip or something, and he couldn't go to work for a few days. And after that, he was gone. But one of the things that Angela mentioned, and I think Hamp just mentioned, is what can we do? And that's actually a question that's on my list of questions. Now, for me, myself, especially the older people who have time, I would like to see them take some children under their wing, mentor them, tutor them, whatever, help them understand who they are, help them understand what their needs are, help them understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, and learn to build on those strengths. One of the things that I've seen the past couple of days is the little boy in Stonecrest, Georgia, Hayden Harris, who has now started his financial literacy bus that he hopes to tour the country in to teach other young people how to handle their money, what to do with it, what to expect, and just not go out and blow their money like so many kids are prone to do. And, that's fun as a kid, but kids grow up. Kids need money, so we got to start teaching them how to handle it. And there are thousands of other retirees out there, who may be in a position to do the same thing. If you're not in a position to do something on, a large scale, there's got to be 1 or 2 kids in the neighborhood. Take a special interest in them, talk to them, speak into them, pour into them, pray for them, whatever it's going to take to try to get these kids into the mind frame of, okay, I'm not just living day to day, but I got to think about the future. And I know it's hard as a child, but the way things are going, the way things are changing, if we don't start to instill that into them, we're going to have another lost generation. But that's just my 2 cents. So, Any other ideas of things that we could possibly do to help or turn things around or something of that nature?
I like the idea of working with the children, and I was thinking about adopting a family because you have a lot of parents, moms and dads, young, who don't know how to parent, don't know how to cook, do not know how to sew. You know that home economics in junior high school we had? There's a lot of basic information. So my friends and I, we've been talking about starting basically a home economics program to help educate. I have this thing that I now say, let's review, because you don't want to think people don't know anything. So let's review what we know and learn a little more. But the basics of home care, which is self-care as well. I like that idea.
Any of the new members on the line want to make a comment?
No. Okay. You know, for the last 2 years, I volunteered at the center doing the after-school program with kids and stuff like that. And what I've learned over the last couple of years, these kids want to do, want to know, but it's the parent that holds a lot of their children back because they have other agendas. And the kid, most of the time, is not on there. You had parents just send their kids up there for whatever reason, just so they're not in their hair till 6:30 that evening. And it's not that the parent was working. They was off doing whatever. And I just kind of feel in order to get the kids, you've got to get the parent. Because if you can't get the parent interested in what it is you're doing, then it's going to be difficult to get the kid. That's my 2 cents.
With that, can I say something?
By all means.
Can I ask something really?
Go ahead.
It's more so really a question. How would you go about asking, or not asking, but getting the parent involved? That way their kid can get involved. Like on a volunteer approach, how would you get more parents involved? Because they see what you see, and they want to also try to get the kid involved. I don't know. I just want to know. Really, I genuinely am a curious person. By the way.
That's a very good question. This is Tramel, right?
Yes, this is Tramel.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the line. I was pondering your question while you were talking. One way, I guess, is to find a program like Hamp was talking about where you could volunteer. Some parents take genuine interest in what their kids are doing, so they would not be, hard to approach. The other parents and some of the counselors or whatever that are on the line, can speak to this. I really hate to put it like this, but this is the only way I know to put it. If you can show them the potential within their child, maybe they would be more willing to take an interest. Unfortunately, as Rodney said, we have a lot of young parents who don't get it. Some don't get it because they don't know that they should get it. And those are probably going to be the ones that are harder to reach. There are other programs out there, maybe at some of the, I'm not sure how they work out here, but some of the YMCAs or the Big Brothers and Big Sisters programs or something along those lines. If anybody else knows of any other program where you can make contact with young people and try to mentor them, please, by all means, mention those. Did that answer your question, or?
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
So there are many programs out there, after-school programs, and like you say, the Y community centers, churches have space. Sometimes the parent isn't interested in the same thing that the child is doing, but thankfully if they allow them to engage, even if it looks like it's a babysitter situation, but bringing together the group, whether in person or virtual, the parents and the children, if you have availability for that, and doing a Q&A. The Q&A would be with the child. What do you know about your parents, in terms of their activities? What do they like? What do you think their passion is? Asking the parent the same thing. So this opens up a conversation. But sometimes if you want the parent involved, maybe the parent is better involved in what they enjoy. So if the son is in basketball, but there's a tennis program and the parent is more into tennis, maybe like an interchange. Again, kind of building that village, but at least it's an open communication and getting them involved in outside activities. Even if it's not with the child sees it happening. If they drop them off, they're going to drop them off.
That's important too.
Yeah, but that questionnaire, almost like group therapy, but you do it in a fun way. What do you not tell? What is it to tell the truth, right? But just asking those questions, because our children see us and they know so much about us, but we don't always hear from them what they know about us. So that I felt when you asked that question, that's the first thing that came to my head. Just open up the dialogue and see what they know about each other. And maybe they just are too busy. Sometimes the parents are too busy, but at least they're allowing the children to engage, which I appreciate.
That's good. It works. But I know the only thing that we found that actually works is when we're doing something with the children, we invite the parents and let them know that we have food. Then they show up. Now, I know that's sad to say, but it's definitely true.
Yep.
Because I can assure you, every major event that we've done, there was food, and we had parent participation.
So in that case, maybe engaging some of the food markets in the area. So I always feel that, like you're saying, if something's being given, then that incentive brings them out. So they could be given a discount certificate from one of the food stores. If they use it, wonderful. If they don't, no loss to the food store. But everybody could use groceries, and they do, whatever they are. They did something here where I think 140, there was a deadly school bus accident about maybe 4 months ago. I think it was Farmingdale High School. And so this past weekend, they had already initiated it, but it came through that 140 pizza shops agreed to donate $5 from every pie that was purchased between certain dates, and they donated, I think it was about $150,000 to the families of the accident victims, which was interesting. But if you can get a couple of the food stores to come together in support of, under an organization, sometimes they want the write-off, sometimes they'll just do it, and give discount coupons. And it doesn't have to just be a food store, a supermarket. It could be one of the neighborhood restaurants or a few of them. Whatever the incentive, we don't know what moves and motivates, but once they come, the parents, then you let them fill out a questionnaire. That is a requirement. Let them fill out a questionnaire. What do you like? What do you need? What other resources do you need? What are your activities? Let them register in order to be fed. Let them feed you while they're being fed. And they'll be feeding you with the information that you want to get from them in order for them to eat.
Okay, those are very good suggestions. Did that help any, Tramel? Okay. One other thing that I thought of, there may be some in the area, there may not. Maybe you could start your own organization or something. But I was thinking about like grandparents helping kids, like foster grandparents, because there are a lot of kids out there who are in situations where they don't have, older people in their families. And then there are a lot of older people out there who don't have young people in their families. And when you see them come together and you see the smiles and the laughter and the storytelling, it's actually heartwarming. I was thinking about that with my own kids. Their grandparents have gone home, so they don't have grandparents. And I was kind of contemplating what to do about that. But anyway.
Can I say something?
Sure.
It's interesting. This is Adrian. I just got on. I just got off. I was on the phone with my pastor just now. But it's interesting that you said that, because she's a new pastor, and I was telling her about a program that I've done at my old church a couple of years ago, and it was called Intergenerational Meet. And I got the concept from the Singles Meet, from the Singles Dating Service, and it was intergenerational. And I'm over a singles ministry. Senior ministry, and I was over it in Florida, and then when I moved to here in New Jersey, the pastor found out, said, "Oh, Sister Canton, we're gonna put you over to seniors again." And I was just telling my pastor, I said I would love to do that here. Because what I did was, it's similar, set up similar like a dating service, and the seniors are sitting in a row, and I put a chair in front of each one of them, and that's where the youth and young adult, we had youth and young adult, and they would sit in a chair in front of them, and the seniors would have different topics, slips of paper, and every time a different person sat in front of them, they pull it out, and, okay, this is what we're going to talk about, 5 minutes. And it was things like, chores you did as a child, or, how school was when you were growing up. And the young people really, they had mixed messages. Some of them had attitude. She said they had all the classrooms, all the grades in one classroom. I couldn't go to school like that. You wouldn't catch me in a school. Young people talk like they have that kind of control. You wouldn't catch me in a school like that. They
Right.
talked about the different games they talked, they like one of the slips might have said, talk about the games you played as a young person, as a teenager. And then the young person would respond. It was, back and forth. And I was telling my pastor I would love to do that here because it was so successful. And afterwards there was like a fellowship. And we had, sandwiches and tea and stuff. And they talked about some of the things they talked about. And I asked them, the young people, tell the older generation how it made you feel having these conversations. And some of them said, oh, and they were just like me when I was little. They liked the same, they had the same, and she said she used to dance in the dance ministry. I danced in the dance ministry. They were so excited to learn that things were the same. Some things were the same, but when they talked about the chores they had to do, you can't get me to do no chores like that. She said, and then the seniors were saying, yeah, with the things that they were saying, like, they couldn't get me to do that. I said, oh, I'm saying, that's the youth of today. But back then, yeah, we got whoopings for real, And so that's a good idea. And I'm glad you brought it up, but I just wanted to bring up what I did. So you can take that idea. It's open. It's not just mine, to have some kind of situation where you have the youth and the seniors together having conversations.
Wow. That's a pretty neat idea. I never considered anything like that. But just to recap, since you just got on, the topic tonight is the graying of America. Where have all the old men gone? And, I gave some statistics about folks working into their 60s and 70s and 80s. And we talked about some of why they haven't retired or, whether they wanted to retire or whether they were forced to keep working. Now, one question that we have not addressed so far, I think, is retirement in your future? Is this something that you're thinking about? We've talked about family, taking care of family. I gave some statistics on that. And actually, I still have a couple more questions on my list here. One was just shifting gears a little bit. Do doctors treat older African Americans like they do younger folk? Because I've seen situations in that regard as well. They straight up asked me, how old are you? And I'm looking at them suspect like, first of all, you should know how old I am. I am your patient. And second of all, it's like, why do you want to know? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel when you go to your doctor as if you are an older American? Because I know we got some young folk on here, but how do you feel when that happens?
When the doctor asks, how old are you?
Well, no. If you feel like there's any difference in the level of care that you get because of your age as opposed to you being a younger person.
Of course, there's a difference because of the age difference, but I haven't seen, with my personal experience, I haven't seen a drastic change, with, except my doctor, as he always says, I know you, Miss Cantine. It's like, don't do so-and-so, with the shot. I'm like, don't suggest I take the shot because I'm not taking it. Yes, Miss Cantine, I know you don't do anything you don't want to do. But I feel I get more respect, and I've been blessed to have the same doctor for, several years, So,
right.
I don't see where, there may be people that see where as you grow older, the doctors, their attitude, back of a better way of saying it, towards you changes, But I think I've been blessed that I haven't had that experience.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Anybody else want to expound on that? Because, I got some more questions down. Hold on.
Okay, next question.
Well, I was about to comment, but if you want her to go to the next question, we can do that too.
Oh, no, go ahead and do your comment.
I have noticed when I would go to the doctors with my mother, And when she would go alone, she would tell me how sometimes the nurse may be a little more curt or a little more short, or the doctor would take less time than when there's somebody going with them. So sometimes, our elderly and our older generation actually need somebody to go, not necessarily to be their advocate, because my mother was, I'm going to do what I want to do, but just to be there, to be in the presence, so that they know not only is this person alert and can speak for themselves, but also that there are family members and or friends that are there to support them and on their behalf, that they have people that care for them and care about them, so that they won't just, be put by the wayside. So it is more than just, your own personal. You just need to look out for those that may be a tad bit older than you and take them to the doctor or what have you, because you never know what that does sometimes.
Right.
Can I say something about that? This is Dr. James. Because I've treated multiple patients, and that's definitely true. When you feel as if there's someone else watching you in the family or whatever, then you're going to be a little bit more cautious on what you do. And that's, just normal, but especially with a doctor. They're always worrying about lawsuits. And that extra person standing there is a witness, So it definitely works. That's definitely true.
Okay.
That's Dr. James.
All righty. I'd like to hear from some of the younger people on the line about how they feel about retirement at the point, when they get there, when they're ready to retire, or when they should retire. Is it something that you are thinking about? Is it like freaking you out? Do you want to keep working? Would you keep working? What would you do? Anyone?
This is LaTanya.
Hi, LaTanya. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
That's good. I'm blessed.
As far as retirement, I'm definitely planning now. I would love to retire at 59 and a half, of course, but I would love to retire sooner. But I know I don't have enough. I know I don't have enough saved up right now, but and then of course they keep pushing the retirement age back, but I definitely would love to retire one day.
Yeah, that they do keep doing that. A lot of people are looking forward to those golden years, as they're referred to. But I would have to find something to keep going. Because it's just, you can only watch so much Price is Right, or something along those lines. Before you start to go stir crazy. Anyone else?
That's why you watch Westerns.
Oh, good Lord.
Watch the Western.
Okay. Westerns and BET, maybe?
Hey.
Tramel, are you still on the line? I have a question for him. Okay. Anyone else? Dr. James, are you retired now?
Yes, I'm here still.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
It's my understanding that you're in the military, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask how long you've been in?
I've been in for about 2.5 years now.
2.5? Oh, okay. So you're not anywhere near close to thinking about retirement at this point?
Not yet. Still heavy on my mind if I want to re-enlist or not.
Okay. I understand that. All right. Well, did
Dr. James, I'm trying to ask you a question because I was on mute.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Doctor.
Not that my computer fell down and everything happened at the same time. Anyway, I was forced to retire because I lost my eyesight. So I worked 3 years blind, but when the state, I had to tell them I was blind, So when they found out that I lost my eyesight, they started to harass me. Like they started coming in my office, watching me, and all kinds of stuff. So right now, I'm not really retired. I've been talking to them, but I'm not working. So that's I'm like in limbo right now. So I'm probably going to just call myself inactive.
Okay.
So that's but I'm not practicing right this minute, no.
Okay. Have you thought about doing something else? Maybe mentoring some young people in your neighborhood, your building, or maybe starting some kind of program to help parents who may be struggling. I think that's some of the reason why parents don't take an active interest in what their kids are doing, because they may be lacking some parenting skills. Is that something that you could do, or something you could step out on faith and do?
Well, right now, I have some medical issues I'm working on. I got a couple of medical problems. Like I said, I lost my eyesight, got diabetes, I got some other kind of medical problems. So I spent a lot of time on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was kind of glad to get the little break because I've been off and on practicing for over 30 years. So I started watching Price is Right. But anyway, I'm gonna, if something came along that was kind of easy to do, nothing too stressful, I might work with it. But I haven't thought about doing anything. No.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, prayerfully.
Just to see this, a lot of times we have the good ideas to do, we have the desire to do, but like Dr. James said, that stress factor plays a heavy role.
Yes, it does.
In dealing with people, period. Not just children, but people, period. Because sometimes you get more stressed and aggravated dealing with adults than you do with children.
Amen. To kind of bring it back onto topic a little bit, I have one more statistic that I'd highlighted, and it was basically that on the flip side, because of a growing number of retirees, certain industries are expected to create more jobs than ever before. And that speaks to the fact that the U.S. economy is projected to add almost 4.7 million jobs. I didn't say 4,700. I didn't say 47,000. I said 4.7 million jobs between 2022 to 2032. And that's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So total employment is projected to increase to 169.1 million growing by 0.3% annually, which is slower than it did the previous decade. And that is basically, in a nutshell, the fact that more baby boomers are retiring. Now, I can't remember what they called people before baby boomers, but I'm right on that cutoff. Being born in 1965, the cutoff for baby boomers was 1964. So I'm kind of in that vein myself. But I'm just praying that, things stay good, I stay healthy, I'm able to take care of these 5 minions I got and keep up with them. So, and somebody, I think it was Divine, made the comment earlier about kids keep you young. Yes, they do. Because I tell you, running behind them is quite interesting. It's quite interesting. So, anybody else have any other comments, questions? Okay. All right. Well, I don't think. Oh, I did have one more, but it was kind of like off topic, so we won't go there. I was going to ask about healthcare disparities, but we kind of already covered that, so to speak. But I guess my last question is for those older people who may not have re-entered the workforce, they just retired. Why has society kind of overlooked them? A lot of them may or may not have family. Family doesn't check up on them. They're left to depend on entitlement programs and things of that sort, which, with a lot of people retiring, it's been my understanding that, the Social Security coffers are dwindling, and other programs may eventually end up either getting severely cut or going away because people are not paying into them like they had been doing. So how can we support these older folk who may need, sometimes maybe just somebody offering to go to the grocery store or, fill out some paperwork because they can't see how to do it or something along those lines. What can we do as individuals to help these people? Anybody?
This is Angela.
Well, everybody.
I think that goes back to the village because we talk about it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to sustain a village. So whether it's the village taking care of the child or the village taking care of their elders, it's all the same. We were raised to honor and care for our elders. And so in that vein, I think it's just a matter of connecting with your elders and seeing their needs and being there for them. My mother-in-law was blind, and I would go, when my husband was offshore, I would go every week and sit with her and talk to her and write out her checks and do the things that she needed done in the house. And then when he would come home, he would cook meals and everything. So we took care of the village because the village needed taking care of. And I think that's major in this society. It's just the respect for our elders and being there for them.
Excellent.
Yes.
I had missed the question, but I think to piggyback on Angela, right? I do the same for my uncle. He's my last remaining uncle. And I do that. I go food shopping. I pick up this and pick up that I think he would like. I sit. I chatter. I take care of his mail, pay his bills, and all of that. And I appreciate it, really. And this is what I know about the older people. Boy, do they have stories to tell. So I'm really cheating.
Yes, they do.
For him. I listen to the stories, and that's why I know that it's so important that we capture those stories. The other thing, and I'm not really all business, but I think just a little, a whole lot of out of the box, it's important to look at what the older people have in terms of their values, in terms of their savings, their investments, home ownership. A lot of times we don't realize that they're sitting on ducks. They're sitting on ducks. And they don't realize it because we can be sitting, just the example that I gave you with the lady I met who had retired twice and she's still working. They gave her a call to tell her that her annuity, that they've been taking a percentage and donating a percentage, is over $1 million. They're like, you need to do something with this money. And she's like, oh, when I used to get the letters, I thought they were asking for money. She was paying it no attention, these high numbers, because they take it out of her check little by little by little. So in caring for our elders, it's important to know what resources they have, to protect those resources, but also to utilize them to help them live the best life possible that they could live. So,
very true. Okay. Thank you. Hamp, you want to chime in?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Oh gosh. I think it's interesting that Yvonne was talking about knowing, what their resources are, because it does protect them. It'll keep them from losing things, keep people from taking advantage of them. All older folk don't need that, but some do. And I think it's important to recognize and pay attention when our family members are aging. From year to year, something may change. So, and when she was talking about the stories, that was always my focus, wanting to know what happened, when it happened, why it happened. And then I kind of lost interest in that, and the older folk that could give me the information I needed had passed on. And with them, there's I think there's an old African proverb that says, when an elder dies, a village burns to the ground, or something like that. So it's not just about, their resources, but it's about the knowledge that they have, medical things that they used to know as a child, how to stop a wound from bleeding, just things that are being lost because we are so dependent on traditional medicine these days. But anyway, that's just me in my soapbox. So any more questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sanford Joseph Williams. I have a show on the podcast called Combating Systemic Racism Through Education at 8 o'clock on Fridays. I mentioned that once before in this show. And I really enjoyed Gardner and Hamp doing awesome work on Monday when the board took over for the slot show. They were delightful, and they were deep and enjoyable. Now, to look at the subject, if I can have a moment, I, at 23 years old, I found a job that I was made to do. Of course, I didn't know it when I found the job, or it found me. But I was teaching a course concerning Africana Studies, Black History, and I was teaching it in one of the premier high schools in America, where previously mostly just Jews went. And they brought me into this job as a token because of the rebellion in Newark in 1967 and the student walkout in 68. And they kept saying, we want to see more black teachers. Little did they know, especially in the area of history, since 1852, there had never been more than 3 black people who taught history in the city of Newark. I'm trying to get this clear. From the time they opened up the colored schools in Newark in 52, until the time they opened up the first high school in Newark in 1890, and then subsequently 8 more high schools, only 3 black people ever taught history in the whole city. So after the rebellion and all, they said, we've got to find us another Negro. So we don't look too bad. So they recruited me with a search team to find a person that would be acceptable in this top-notch white school. And so they could say to the Negroes, see, we have us a Negro up there in that school, not taking off the minds of the fact that they only have 3 other ones in the history of the whole thing. So I go there not to do any special work. Actually, I just intended to go to law school. But somehow, after my first year, it became clear to me that there was not enough talked about in terms of the true history of the country, certainly not infusing the black story in it. So I began to develop a curriculum after my first year there, which developed into a 2-year program, like a college level course, where you not only start out looking at the history of the people on the continent, but you then also do a problem study, and which is the 2nd year of it. And it was an excellent program. It ran from 1968 to 1986, and that was the only job I ever had in my whole life. A job, really, for real. And I was removed from my job by black people in the city of Newark. It was then the only 2-year black studies program in America, and in a public school. And there's never been one like it since. Subsequently, I was forced to retire from the job overall because I worked 20 years in obscurity in a charter school. I mean, not charter school, but school for so-called delinquent kids. So I really only had one job from 1968 to 86. When I was forced to retire in 2006, I vowed never, ever, ever to be involved in any such activity again in my life. And so for the next 37 years, actually, from 86 to 2023, I never was involved in such a thing. But things happened in 2021. One of them was my wife passed away. I was married 55 years. My children all grown and out in the world. So here I was, a person without direction. I didn't know quite what to do. And what I did for the first month and a half, I cried every day. Then somewhere along the way, I got to around 2023, and I began to think maybe I could do something about teaching black history again. And so I thought about writing a book about what I did, and so maybe my students commenting on the book, I would ultimately become somebody who I would ultimately tell the story. I found that the story about what I did was erased, so to speak. And so I said, well, I can tell the story about this because I think it would be valuable for the city of Newark to know it. So I found Forrest Nance in, I guess it was June of 2023. And I've been told that I need to get a podcast or some kind of a forum where I could talk about the things that I did and then talk about the things that I'm trying to do, which is to teach the true history of America for young people between the ages of 9 to 12. And I found that if I had a podcast, I could reach these people. So I joined up on July 7th of 2023, July 8th of 2023, and I've been doing this work since then. Now, it's interesting. Whereas I never thought I would ever bother with teaching anybody anything anymore, because it was such an overwhelming, psychological, emotional, and spiritually devastating story I went through with black people, not white people. So as I began doing this podcast, I first started out with a number of my former students coming on, some of them 72 years old or older, would say how they remembered what occurred there. And one lady says, well, I was a judge, but because I took life studies way back then, now I thought I'd better go become a public defender, because she thought they needed her more. And on it went. So subsequently, I'm still on this podcast, and I see a way. For instance, I don't work for the podcast, but I was retired in 2006 with nothing to do with take care of my ailing wife. So I never thought I'd work for anybody ever again. But what I'm doing right now is work, because I have to look up my guests, do my research on my guests, and then after researching them, then plan, give an email rather, of what it is that I would like to do for that particular program, and then run it that way. And I believe that now I may be able to have a national forum where I can cause school districts, whether they are white, black, or Latino, to buy into the concepts that I taught about back then, to help bolster their programs, especially with modern media going on. Now, that make a long story short, I'm 78 years old, and I am not an old man. It says, the graying of America. Where have the old men gone? Where have the old men? Well, I guess a lot of them are gone because their bodies gave out, and they're no longer here. But I'm talking about, I guess you're talking about the live ones. I'm one of the live ones, and I have a job that may take me on into the 80s where I'm doing the same thing, which is something 37 years ago I said I would never do again, because of the bad experience I had with black people who seemingly are a part of what you call systemic racism. Wow. And that's basically what that story is. And so Mr. Everett and Hamp, and whoever else may be on the show, some of you know me and some of you don't, I surely would like you to listen to my program on Friday, because I have a lady that comes from right around where y'all come from. Her name is Dara Starr Tucker, and she's going to be talking about cultural appropriation. She'll be coming on around between 8 and 9 o'clock. She's going to come on, and she's going to do a Q&A, 30 minutes. Now, I'm going to play some things that she said before she comes on, and there'll be lots of questions. But her whole thing is she's doing it for 30 minutes. And she's a treasure and a treat for young black women in general, grandmas, aunties, little girls. All be glad to hear this profound young black woman from Tulsa, Oklahoma, born and bred. And it's a great show. I usually try to have very probative shows. And that's basically it. I don't want to hog up any more of your time.
Thank you so much for that information. Can you just repeat to me your name and the time of your show again, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Sanford Joseph Williams. And the reason I use that name is because I have a son who is a very powerful government fellow, and I don't want them to think he's talking about him, because I be talking about him all the time. And if they think it's him, they'll come get him, because he's one of their people. He's a brilliant young man who, at 15 years old, he's an engineer, he's a lawyer, and No, he's not one of those Clarence Thomas kind of Negroes, but he's a powerful black man, and he's got the wrong name. So I had to really make sure I say the whole name out.
Okay, so now the time of the show, one more time.
Yes, ma'am. The time of my show is at 8 o'clock every Friday. And the call number is 520-525-8633. And anybody, especially Everett and Hamp, but anybody on the show, please bring your people.
Okay.
All
and
right.
that's Eastern Standard Time?
Yes, it's all Eastern Standard. All of these times are Eastern Standard Time for all the shows that emanate out of the Newark-based Grown Folk Talking Network. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Hamp.
Okay. But thank you. So that was definitely an excellent topic. A lot of information was given out this evening. And it's I have 9:53. So what we're about to do, I'm going to give everybody on the line an opportunity to broadcast their shows and tell what time they come on.
Can I sneak in a question, please?
Go ahead.
So, Ayana, you had another question you had mentioned. I forgot what it was, but I wanted to comment on it. It was weird.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was. So it was one you said you had, but we kind of covered it, you said, regarding the older generation.
About disparities in healthcare.
Oh, yes, thank you.
All right.
What does that mean?
That there's a difference in the way African Americans are treated versus non-African Americans, or older folk versus younger folk. Does that help clarify a little bit?
Okay, yeah, because I kept hearing that during that 2-year stint, healthcare disparity, and I'm thinking the pharmacies are packed. The doctor's offices are packed. What exactly is a disparity? So mistreatment. Yeah, but I thought they were saying like we weren't going to the doctors because the pharmacy is packed, the doctor's office is packed every 2 weeks. But it's the level of
being offered a solution, not necessarily a solution to a problem, but if there may be a surgery needed, they may not offer it to someone that they consider too old or would not benefit from it, whereas maybe some non-African Americans get offered things that we don't get offered. Certain medicines, it seems like they may offer to us that they don't offer to them, and vice versa. So that's what I meant by disparities.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for the explanation. As I was hearing it constantly again during that 2-year stint.
Okay.
Based on your definition, they were actually just telling on themselves. But okay, this is Ivadane with Ivadane with Company. Thank you for that. Ivadane with Company, talk worth listening to. My show is Mondays, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much. And thank you. Great show.
Thank you, Ivadane. Next.
Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, Brother Hamp, Brother Everett, and Brother Andre. Wonderful show. And to the sister that you guys had on tonight to give the presentation, sister, that was very powerful, what you put out there for us. This is Forrest Nance. And every Saturday at 6 p.m., Grown Folks Talking Express Yourself Progressive Podcast Network presents. I'm having on this Saturday Agatha. She does cupping, which is a science which shows the if you have stagnation in your body, and also she will be discussing foods that you may be allergic to. She does testing for that. And then, of course, our resident naturopath here on Grown Folks Talking Network, Brother Rashad Al-Amin, will come on with one of his lectures. And you guys know the panel of CCC. You guys know that I stand for health and nutrition, as well as the sister that made the presentation. So please tune in. We had Brother, or should I say Dr. Ezra West, who came in and talked about cell rejuvenation and heart disease and capillaries. He came on this past Saturday. Wealth of information. It's on our YouTube. I believe George put up. If he didn't, it'll be up on our YouTube page. And Brother Everett, Brother Hamp, Brother Andre, we got the YouTube up now. So I've been telling Andre to put up the shows. So you guys should be up there. Peace and blessings. See you Saturday at 6 p.m.
All right. Thank you, Brother Forrest. Next.
Okay. This is Adrian. Can we talk with Adrian? Friday, 6 p.m. Talk about social issues, education issues, religion, and a little bit about politics. Fridays, 6 p.m., on Grown Folks Talking. Adrian, can we talk with Adrian?
Thank you, Adrian. Is there any others? Okay. Well, I will say this again. Great show, wealth of information, Leonie. So thank you. And at this time, I will ask the questions. Are there any more questions or concerns?
No, good information.
All right. Well, if not, it is 9:59 by my clock, so we are on schedule. And I would like to again thank all of you for chiming in and being with us for this hour and a half. I know sometimes it gets a little late for some, and we might not get kicked off on time with others, but it's not about how you start, it's always how you finish. And I felt like we finished pretty strong tonight.
Yes, we did. Yes, you did.
So with that being said, I will not hold anyone any longer. This is Hamp Smith Everett and the CCC letting you know we definitely appreciate you. If you need us, you have our numbers. Contact us. Take care of yourselves and each other. Remember, people, the word of the week is village. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Y'all be blessed.
Good night.